Mayor Pro Tem Rick Collins. Councilmember Aaron Pearson. Councilmember Lisa Lake.
Here.
Councilmember Brett Hansen.
Here.
Aaron, do we have any amendments? Okay. Melissa, do we have any general public comments?
Yes, we have Mr. John Barkley.
Okay. John? There's a little button up there. If you'll push it, that has, looks like a little face. No, on the speaker, There you go.
Okay. Thank you for helping me through that technical part. My name is John Barkley. I live at 6090 Pryor Road in Timnath, and I'm here to speak on agenda item 6A specifically. It's been a long time since I've spoken in front of the council, but this is, the contract was very concerning.
Mr. Barkley,
Yes.
we actually take public comment on a public hearing at the time of the hearing rather than during general comments.
Hey, Lori, this doesn't have a public hearing. The issue he's talking about is the engineering contract, which doesn't have a public hearing.
Got it. Thank you so much, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Okay, now don't count that against my minutes.
All right, we got it started right now.
I apologize.
So this contract is very concerning to me. I've read it and I read it again, and I emailed some detailed public comments yesterday. And then I looked at it again, and there's a couple things in there that I missed. One of which, I'll get into that, but I wanted to clarify my public comments. So the one thing that I missed in this contract is this is not really a 3-year contract, it's a 6-year contract. So we're not talking in the 3 million range, we're talking in the 6 million range. And that is under your packet page number 151, contract page 2, term 2 at the bottom of the paragraph for reference. With terms like that in there, I just don't think that's good business. And I don't think the town is well represented, and the town's interests are here. I didn't see any analysis in the presentation by the town attorney. I don't know if that's been reviewed legally, but there's some things in there that are very troubling, and I'm not a lawyer, so bear with me. I'm a CPA by training, but there's some things in there that I really think should receive some legal scrutiny before the town agrees to it. One is it limits TST's liability to only $1 million, or in some cases only $500,000. That to me seems risky. And the other part of it is the insurance requirement is only $1 million in liability insurance. That might have been a great number 20, 30 years ago. But I'm wondering, have we done any analysis to see if what awards have been given against other towns and municipalities when things go wrong? I really think there should be some detailed analysis on that before we agree to that term in the contract. And I read through the contract, and I'm wondering who drafted this contract. Was the town part of the drafting? Was it something that we were just handed? I don't know. There's no information in the packet to help me with that. So we didn't follow the RFP process, even though I think we're supposed to, or at least that's the intent. Now, I understand we have an internal transition. There might be exceptions to that rule, but I didn't see any justification presented for the council to evaluate why the RFP process was skipped. So, why was this, how did all this come about? I really think the analysis presented to the council lacks enough detail and thought. I didn't see any legal analysis of contract terms. It seems like this is a very rushed contract and no real time to consider it. And there's no competition. So I asked the council tonight, the way this contract is written, I asked that the council vote no. I asked that the council send this back to town staff to cover the points that I have looked at, and to look at this again and to come back to the following council meeting, maybe with a better product. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Anybody else, Melissa?
No, Mayor.
Okay, thanks. Consent agenda. Does anybody have any comments on the consent agenda? Could I have a motion to approve it?
Consent agenda so moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed unanimously. Reports. Any council people have a report? I'm going to just make one quick comment to thank the town for filling in the survey, and that we will be getting back to them in the next couple weeks with results and evaluation of that survey. So
I had just one, and it's a follow-up to about 2 meetings ago. Have we been able to look at that street where they wanted maybe a crosswalk at this point yet?
Yes, we're in the middle of it, and we've responded to a couple of residents relative to it. And the improvements associated with one of the specific crosswalks is a part of already approved plans, but haven't got to that yet. It's another phase of the Hartford project. Outside.
I appreciate this. This, for our audience that's listening, this is a follow-up to a coffee that we had where a citizen had raised an issue about school kids crossing a busy street. And we're just follow up on it and appreciate it. Thank you.
Very good.
finance report, excellent report. Lisa, do you have anything extra to add? Okay. Engineering report. Don, do you have anything extra to add?
I have a question on the engineering report there, Mark.
Go ahead, please.
I noticed that the traffic counts were complete. Do you have an idea on when a traffic study, master traffic plan update, things of that nature will be coming to us? Are we coming out?
Yeah, you should see, we're going to put an RFP out here very shortly now that we've got some of these traffic counts and we have the counts before and after Kector and all of that. And so there'll be an RFP out, and then I hope before the first of the year, but probably just after the first of the year, it'll be to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Community development report. Matt, do you have anything extra to add? And police staff report. Terry, do you have anything extra to add? Okay. Business resolution number 61, series 2021, a resolution approving professional services agreement for engineering and planning services. Aaron.
Thank you, Mark. Council, presented to you tonight is a contract for, excuse me, continuing services with TST. Apologies. This is consistent with the presentation we gave to the council in July as part of a budget work session and the one we had just a couple weeks ago. It is the staff's intent to continue to build our internal capacity, decreasing our reliance on contracted services, whether it's TST or other folks who provide contracted services. We do have a plan that builds our internal staff to do that. We think that working and continuing to work with TST is the most efficient way moving forward in the interim as we do build that internal capacity. And so staff would recommend approval of the contract with TST.
Okay. Council comments?
Yeah, I looked at this contract and I had a lot of questions, and Aaron's right. We went over this a little bit in our budget talks a few weeks back and talked about how we transition. I was very concerned when I saw that it was a 3-year and then another 3-year added on if so desired. I thought that didn't fall in line with the position that the council was taking to try to move towards more contracted, more RFP, and more in-house. If you ask me tonight and ask me probably, it might even be next year, the year after, when is the right time to make those moves? It isn't tonight. It isn't tonight when we're going to say we could go ahead and not have a smooth transition. We need the people that are in place with TST involved, as I see it, with the major projects that are out there, with the negotiations with Walmart, the bypass, several projects, annexations going forward, opening a couple of schools. You don't switch the people or throw people out of the car that you need to help drive the car at that time. So when it gets to the point, I'll get to my point. What I want to do is to maybe change the thing a little bit and ask if we could maybe entertain a motion when it's time to take motions, Mayor, for 1 year contract and then a 1 year if they decide to let it roll an extra year. So it's not 3 years, 3 years, it's 1 year, 1 year. And I think that would give this council and then future councils the ability to continue that transition and do it in a way where actually you work closer with the council to say, here's how the planners are going to be moved in. Here's how the engineers are going to be moved in. This is how, instead of having a person doing 2 jobs, maybe we need 2 people each doing their own job. We're growing kind of thing. So there's so many questions out there. And Mr. Barkley had raised a question, and it's one of the ones that I had circled here is, I don't know if a $1 million insurance is adequate or not. We're talking about, I've sat on the council now for over 3 years, and I've watched some settlements come and go out of here for other violations or other judgments, let's put it that way. And that $1 million isn't going to go far if all of a sudden somebody comes in with deep pockets and they want after our pockets. So I just throw that out to our council to say, is that the standard practice to have just a $1 million policy or not?
So Don, actually, I think that's a good idea too. And I'm surprised because you've got a great firm, and I'm surprised your firm only has $1 million. And I know in talking before I retired to various engineering companies and accounting firms and stuff, and it seemed like 5 million was the gold standard of what everybody was trying to get for malpractice liability and errors and omissions. Do you want to comment on that?
Sure. The policy right now is 1 million, 2 million, meaning that it's 1 million per occurrence and 2 million aggregate. So, yeah, and I think we do a lot of work in Northern Colorado, and in all the other communities that we're involved with when we do design for other folks, the 1 million is the accepted standard. Now, if the projects were significantly larger than the ones we've been doing in Timnath, then I think you get a requirement line, like in Denver for much bigger projects, you get a requirement. The professional liability of these things is not the total, aggregate of the construction costs 90% of the time. I mean, when you have if there is one, and I've only had one in over 40 years, and it was something that was not associated with anything we had done wrong. It was more a legal dispute associated with everything. And it was way less than that. And so I'm happy to entertain higher numbers, but I think if you looked around, the numbers would be very consistent with what we have in a 1 million, 2 million.
Yeah, go ahead, Lisa.
I just want to echo some of Rick's comments about, we have talked about our 3-year, 5-year kind of plan and how we can phase some of the contracted work in-house. But I agree that it's not the time to stop all contract work. It's going to take definitely some time to make that transition smooth. As far as the 3-year, 1 year, whichever, I don't have a strong preference as to that piece of it. I do think that it would be good for us to, at some point, have a little bit more detail about how we want that transition to look, other than I know we've looked at staffing numbers and some budget pieces, but at some point I think we'll want to look at, a little bit more detail about that. But I definitely don't think now would be the time to stop all the contract stuff. So.
And I mean, my comment is, I think everybody knows that I'm a stickler on RFPs and believe it, and that we need it in the town. This is different in that it started, the contract really is an employee contract that's set up as a services contract as opposed to an employment contract, because of the town being so small 3 or 4 years ago. And we've evolved. We've gone from 600 people to 6,000 people. Well, you can't just turn off the spigot then either when you've gone along a progress. And I think what was done in the past is fine. It was good for the town. I think it was good for everybody involved in it. I think we need to transition. And what I saw in the budget was a direct attempt to say TST won't be if we need another engineer, it's not going to be under TSTs. It's going to be an engineer that is hired by the town, which we've already shown with the hiring of Corey and a planner with, I forgot her name. But so we've already started that process. And I also noted that the contract this year, help me, Don, is about 250,000 less than last year. Okay. Okay. Do you want to make a comment?
I just want to comment. I think TST has done a great job for the town over the last 10 years or 8 years, whatever it's been, 9 years. And all of a sudden switching horses to a brand new person, it would be an absolute disaster for our town. I fully agree with RFPs where it makes sense, but this is a place an RFP does not make any sense. And even if you found a firm that was going to be 10% less on what you're offering here is that 75,000 less, that per year, that's a 12.5% off of that service. So even if we had RFP'd and found something, we're still seeing these savings. So I appreciate what you've done. I'm happy with the contract the way it is. I'll listen to Rick's, opinion on the 1 year. I think a 2 year would be better because we know we're not going to be transitioned in 1 year. That's sort of a compromise between Rick's 1 and the 3. And then after 2 years, we can be transitioning some of these things out. I think that's what our budget calls for, is over more 2 years. We're going to be hiring some, and then we can relook at it, see what we have in our staff, and then what our needs are, and then renegotiate at that point with another year or two extension beyond that 2 years. But I appreciate what Rick had to say about we can't throw out the drivers of the car when they're driving the car down the road. So.
I'll just add that when I look at the dollar amounts involved, just as we've seen over the last 6 months, anytime there's a delay in a project, it can cost the town quite a bit of money. And if we tried to jerk around with multiple transitioning to different firms, that could cost us millions of dollars in delays. And there's no way we're going to recoup that with an RFP process. So I'm a big believer in the RFP process, and I certainly want us to continue to lean more and more into that. It just, with this relationship, it takes time, and I think that's okay. We'll work through that. As far as the term, I'm admittedly a little bit indifferent. I think even if it's a 3-year contract, it's still dependent on us budgeting the money to pay for the contract. So it's kind of a difference in name only from what I see. I think we're going to continue to work in good faith with TST. They're going to continue to work in good faith with us. It's also in the contract. They're helping us with transition to various in-house positions. But I'm fine with whatever, whether we do the 1 year or 2 year or whatever on that amount.
You want to make a motion?
No,
Mark, if I could just,
Sure.
I do appreciate, Rick, your comments. My recommendation would be potentially 3 year and then strike the second 3 year. I say that because 2024 specifically, which would be our 3rd year, is one of our most significant staffing up years in trying to bring down the TST. So the 3rd year out is the one where I think we see the biggest change in bringing in staff. So my recommendation would be to do at least a 3 and then maybe strike that second set of 3. And then just one other quick note, historically, we've never done 6 straight. We've always come back to the council after 3 to have this discussion again. But if you wanted to formalize that, I think that makes a lot of sense. So that would be my recommendation.
Rick?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion after listening to my colleagues and the manager that we go with a 2-year contract up front with a 1 year rollover. So instead of 3 and 3, it's 2 and 1. And I think that meets the concerns that you raised, and it meets the concerns Aaron and the others have voiced up here.
So Rick, I think
That we
to do
The
yeah.
motion to approve the resolution with a 2 and a 1. Does our town attorney understand that?
Well, I think.
Yes, I do.
Absolutely.
I think what you want to do is, Lori, just a sec. I think what you want to do is present the motion as amended by, and then go there. And then we vote for it as amended. And then if we vote no or yes, we still come back to the resolution.
Okay, I'd like to put the motion on the table and then offer a resolution or an amendment to it.
Yeah.
But technically, you should offer the amendment before you do the other. It's once you approve the other, it's approved.
Yeah, I know. So that's why.
So the amendment is to change the contract where it's 2 years upfront and a 1-year rollover if needed. And that's the motion, the amendment to the final motion.
Okay. Hey, Lori.
That's correct. What Rick is saying is correct.
Okay. So we've got a.
Then you just ask
motion
roll
for the
call on
two.
that,
Yeah.
on the amendment.
Yeah.
Then I'll offer the resolution.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Now I offer to adopt the resolution as amended.
You move that? I will
Yeah,
second that.
Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I will make a comment. I would like you, Don, as TST, take a look at the malpractice. That to me seems low too. And, I feel comfortable you'll come up with the right answer, but I'd like you to take a look at it for TST support as much as for the towns.
I will do that. Thank you.
Resolution 62, Series 2021, a resolution approving a service plan for Fisher Metropolitan Districts number 1 and 4, authorizing the execution of an IGA between the town of Timnath and districts number 1 through 4. Do we have anybody for public hearing, Melissa?
No, sir.
Okay. Lori.
Yes. So first, David O'Leary is here tonight from Spencer Fane to make a presentation at the public hearing. And all I'm going to do, rather than telling you the story and then having David repeat that, is that just reminding the council that we approved this conditionally a couple of meetings ago and asked the applicant to come back because they didn't get the notices correct under the town special district policy. They did them correctly under the law, but not under the policy. And they have corrected that defect. And so that's why they are here this evening.
Is the only purpose to tell us that, yes, you issued them all correctly? Lori, is there a reason that we make him talk? Well, I'm happy. If you'd like to talk, go ahead. But I mean, if all we're doing is making sure the notices got sent out correctly, I'm not sure we need to spend a lot of time on that. It's the one that looks like a face. There you go.
Mr. Mayor and council members, you're actually correct. I am here to confirm that we've satisfied all the statutory requirements and all the town policy requirements. We've met all of our notices, all the publication and mailings have gone out as required by town policy. This is a re-up of what we did about a month ago. And all of the compliance matters have been satisfied. We provided a supplemental certificate of publication and mailing, and I'm here to answer any questions that you have regarding the project or the service plan.
Okay. Yes, Brett.
I did have one question, just clarifying the amount of fees that are that can be levied on residents that will be living there. My understanding is that 2 residents living in this district, the $1,200 O&M fee is the only fee that they would see.
That is correct.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
and it's an up to, So a lot of these things, both with mill levies and with fees, they go up to a maximum of that if they choose to do it, or if the market doesn't tolerate it, they will sometimes not do that.
Okay, so there's no other fee that would involve the residents themselves?
No, and it's consistent with the other service plans in the other districts in Timnath.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion?
I move to approve this resolution.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, resolution number 62, series 2021, a resolution approving the service plan for Fisher Farm Metropolitan District numbers 1 through 4 and authorizing the execution of the IGA between the town of Timnath and district numbers 1 through 4 has been approved. Resolution number 63, series 2021, a resolution approving Saratoga Falls and third filing. I have a very minor loan that I've made to the Homeowners Association of Saratoga Falls 3. So I am going to be asked to be recused from discussion here. Lori?
Yeah, so the mayor and I talked about this earlier this week, and because he had made a direct loan, was it the Homeowners Association or the Metropolitan District?
Metro.
Yeah, to the Metropolitan District, I felt that that was sufficient to warrant recusal if the council so chooses to vote in that way. So now the next thing we do is have a motion to allow the mayor to recuse himself, and then second and a vote on it.
So do I have
I make a motion to allow the mayor to recuse himself on this matter.
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I did not vote. Rick, it's your meeting.
All right.
Let's go home.
Is that all right, town attorney? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Proceed with the resolution approving Saratoga Falls. Let's get staff then to go over this thing a little bit.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So as you have mentioned, this is a resolution approving the Saratoga Falls third filing final plat. If it wants to move forward for me. All right. So this property is located west or east of the Saratoga Falls second filing, north of Prospect Road and west of County Road 3. The current zoning of this property is R2 single family residential. This final plat proposal is for 250 single family detached lots. And then this also includes potential use of a Poudre School District owned 16-acre elementary school site. This proposal meets the parks and open space requirement. They are providing pocket parks, community clubhouse and park, and 43% open space, which does not include the 16 acres of the elementary school site. This plan includes a series of concrete and soft surface neighborhood trails, along with a future community trail, which is in compliance with our Prost Parks Recreation open space and trails plan. The gross density for this final plat area is 1.41 dwelling units per acre. And then as per section 665 of the land use code, all lots that back to open space have the eligibility of the side yard setback being reduced from 7 feet to 5 feet. The minimum lot size shown on the final plat is roughly 6,400 square feet in size, and the max lot size is just over 36,000 square feet. That area, those maximum lot sizes are generally on the south side of Prospect Road, adjacent to the Dead Man Lake. But there's an average of about 8,000 square feet in size for lot sizes. Wanted to bring your attention that this final plat also meets the preliminary plat conditions that were set forth by you as a council earlier this year. Those have been listed out in the staff report, and staff has felt that they have met those conditions of approval that you set forth with the preliminary plat. The owner is Kitchen Lake Filing 3 LLC, represented tonight by Mr. Jib Rinkheimer. The applicant is TB Group, represented tonight by Kristen Turner. Staff has reviewed this against the approved preliminary plat and land use code and design criteria and has found it to meet those criteria. With that, I will turn it over to Kristen for her presentation.
All right, can you hear me? Perfect. Remind me, Kevin, the arrows or the red button? Okay, thank you. All right, hello. My name is Kristen and I'm with TB Group and I am here to tell you a little bit about Saratoga Falls tonight. I think everybody here has heard about this project on many occasions, so this will really be like a quick review. I'm going to be respectful of your time and skip through the stuff that Kevin has already covered. So I will breeze right past this first slide since you guys are all familiar with where the site is located. And we'll just jump right into the plan. So when you look at this, you're probably going to look at this and think, this looks just like the last plan when you brought it forward. And that would be because it is exactly the same. We are proposing 250 lots with R2 zoning here. You'll see that there is an abundance of open space on this plan. 43% of the site, and that does exclude the school site, is open space here, with buffers all the way around the site and pocket parks and neighborhood parks woven throughout the site as well. So a couple of things that this site features. First is the potential for that elementary school centrally located. We're really hopeful that the school district moves forward. Everything's looking very positive with them right now, but we think this would be a great amenity for both this community and Timnath as a whole to have this elementary school located in this development. The next thing that I wanted to point out here was the trails in this community. And you'll see on this plan that we've got 3 different colors shown. The purple dash is your soft surface trail. The thicker community trail is located right between 2nd and 3rd filing. It kind of splits those 2 filings. And then the red dashed line that you see are the concrete trails. So we've got a really nice mix of these 3 different types of trails throughout the community to give folks variability on how they want to move through the community. We have got over 18,000 linear feet of trail just in the 3rd filing. And that shakes out to 3.5 miles of trails in 3rd filing. Of course, there are more trails located in 1st and 2nd filing. So the Saratoga Falls subdivision as a whole just has an excellent trail system. And it just provides really great pedestrian options here. You'll notice that we have 9 connection points between 2nd and 3rd filing, pedestrian connection points, so really good connectivity between the entire subdivision as a whole. There was a lot of thought that went into looking at this site cohesively and not just by filing. All right, so let's move forward to some of these parks. Since we're at final, you get to see the design for them now. Up in the top right corner, you'll see a little locator map so you can see where it is within the site. This is one of our pocket parks that it does include turf grass fields for people to be able to go out and have soccer games, throw the Frisbee around, a picnic shelter and some picnic tables with a couple of grills as well. Then you'll see a little bit closer to Kitchell Lake, another one of our pocket parks. This is a little tot lot area, so a little play structure, some seating, some extra planting, and again, a small turf area for kiddos to run around and play. This also has a connection from within the subdivision out to that larger trail that runs all the way around the lake. This is our neighborhood park, which wraps itself around the wetlands area that are centrally located through the site. So they kind of run from the south end of the lake all the way through down to Prospect. We've got 3 zones. So you'll see up at that northwest corner, there's kind of a natural play structure zone area. Really cool play equipment that all has natural features, timbers and things like that to really fit into this slightly more passive type park. As you move to the middle of that area, there's a trail system that you can see that winds all the way around the neighborhood park. And that central area is more of a quiet planting, seating, a place for folks to go and just be able to hang out and sort of observe and enjoy the quiet and the beauty there. Then as you wrap around the site to the right, you'll see we have another small area carved out with a shade structure and some picnic tables. And then at the very southern end of it, you'll see that there is like an amphitheater seating area. It's also close to the school, so that we think if that school does develop in the future, it'll be something nice that could work back and forth between the neighborhood and the school. And then the final piece of this that I don't have an enlargement for you is that pool and clubhouse area. And that reason is because that will come forward as a separate application in the future for you. It requires a site plan. So there is one more pocket park. It's not included in this final plat, but when it is ready, it'll come forward with a site plan that includes the clubhouse, the pool, the play area, and the design for all of that. So just taking you back to the final plan so that we have that up if there's any questions that come up about it. But as Kevin mentioned, we are in compliance with the comp plan, the land use code, the PROS plan, the sketch plan, or the sketch plat, and the preliminary plat as well. We do have our entire team here tonight. So if you have questions for the developer, engineering questions, traffic questions, we're happy to help. And at that, I will stop talking and you guys let me know if you have anything for us.
Any questions?
I have a couple comments, I guess, more than questions. I appreciated that you took what we asked of you around the Kitchen Lake to the northwest up there, especially that you've made that area larger. And I see in the drawings that you had a nice concrete path through there. Is that concrete path going to be part of, is that going to go in before the homes, after the homes? What is your thoughts there? Or do you know?
In general, trails are built with whatever phase of development is moving forward. I see everybody shaking their head. I was going to say, I didn't put together the phasing plan, so I don't 100% know. I don't want to speak out of turn, but yes, generally that's how we plan it. And it sounds like that is what we presented to the town as well.
Great. I just want to make sure that the homeowners that buy in there realize there is a path back there so we don't get into a situation where there was always a plan for one and now all of a sudden it comes in a couple years down the road and people are upset.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when that phase gets developed, when the infrastructure goes in, roads, utilities, that trail will be a part of those infrastructure improvements.
Thank you, Kevin.
We really want all of that to happen with construction because that's when you're making the mess.
Yeah.
It's hard to come back later once you have homes in, so.
Great. And then I also appreciate in the design, I probably mentioned this before, but that you took advantage of that ability to put open space behind and use the setbacks. I think that just really makes our town different from other neighboring communities to have that open space behind every single home. It's a great amenity, and I think that's one thing that makes Timnath special.
Agreed. I think it's a very cool feature.
That's all for me. Thank you.
Just a couple timeline questions. When do you expect people to start moving into this development? First homes being absorbed?
Sure, that's a great question. I'm going to look to my team to help answer that question, but I suspect it will be as soon as we are completely finalized, that construction begins. So in terms of move-ins, Jim, you want to help with that one?
Yeah, Jim Righeimer. Good evening. So timing wise, we'd like to get it in this market. I mean, this is a very hot market out there. So the Metro District has a process for how they bid. They've actually done the process already. It hasn't been announced who the contractor will be, but if we get approved tonight, we could get a early grading permit. I think Steve Human talked to Don about, doing that just for that. And we would probably start grading within a week. And so 6 months of the lots would be done the first. So what we'll do is there's 5 phases. We're going to grade the first 4 phases, which is kind of everything south of the lake. The reason we're not grading the last phase, I'll be living at the tip of the peninsula there. Thank you very much. My daughter's here. She's excited. We literally need the dirt out of the basements to finish that. And so just timing wise, you just don't have enough dirt to get in there. But timing wise, 6 months, so then builders will go on for 6 months. I think it'll do well.
Okay. And then the clubhouse itself around.
Oh, the clubhouse will go into this. So we're gonna grade 1 through 4. We're gonna build 1 and 2, which is 100 lots. When we go to 2 and 3, 3 and 4, that's when the clubhouse will go. The first phases are extremely expensive because your staff twisted my arm and made me do Prospect Road now. It's millions of dollars, and so you just couldn't get the financing to do it all. But yeah, the clubhouse will go at that point there.
Okay.
Thanks.
And I just need to say that There's a famous movie, Chinatown, where they talk about, this has to do with your high school, where they said, if you can't bring the water to the people, bring the people to the water, and they annexed the San Fernando Valley. In one vote, we got a high school. Good job.
Yeah, now do we open it up? Is there any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay, does the council have any other questions for staff, or if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to recommend approval of the Saratoga Falls third filing final plat with the following conditions. Allow staff to work with the owner applicant to address minor, non-substantive modifications and unresolved comments prior to final signatures.
Second.
Okay, having a motion and a second. Let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record show unanimous with one recused.
Okay, so someone go get the mayor now, please.
No, we don't need him. Let's
Okay.
go ahead. Oh, here he comes.
Hey, Lori, do they need a motion for me to come back?
No, it's all good.
Thank you. All right. Resolution 64, Series 2021, a resolution making certain findings of fact and declaring eligibility of the proposed annexation of parcels of land to Timnath, Colorado, known as the Connell annexation. Do we have anybody for public hearing?
I don't have anybody signed up for public hearing, but I'm
Okay.
sure there are applicants.
Yeah. So, Kevin.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm actually going to present all the Connell / Ladera items at one time, just because they all commingle with each other, just to kind of give.
So just to get it on the record, you're also going to do ordinance number 9. Wait, no. Yeah,
Yep.
ordinance number 9, Series 2021, and ordinance approving the annexation of property known as Connell to the town of Timnath, located south of Sweatsville Zoo and west of County Road 5, and also ordinance number 10, Series 2021, and ordinance approving a zoning map amendment for the annexation of the property known as Connell to the town of Timnath, and ordinance number 11, Series 2021, and ordinance approving Ladera Plan Development Overlay Amendment. Correct?
Correct. Try and kill 4 birds with one stone here.
That just sounds fine.
So thank you, Mayor. This is the Connell Annexation Zoning and PD Overlay. For those of you that don't know, this property is south of Sweatsville Zoo, west of County Road 5, south of the existing Costco, shown there on the blue highlight. This annexation is technically 2 annexations, just because of contiguity requirements to get the full extension of what would be or the full length of what would be the extension of Weitzel Road. There isn't enough contiguity for the 1/6 requirement, so it is done in 2 annexations to be able to get all of the 64 acres that is required for this annexation. The proposal for the annexation that is being provided by the developers for commercial uses. This property is designated employment regional commercial in the comprehensive plan, and the proposed commercial uses are in compliance with that comprehensive plan designation. This property will also go through future platting with future processes of this development. This annexation petition and annexation has been reviewed against and complies with all land use code, municipal code, and Colorado revised statutes for an annexation. With the annexation then comes the zoning. The applicant is requesting regional commercial zoning, which is similar to the Costco site just to the north. And that regional commercial zoning is in compliance with the commercial or the employment regional commercial comprehensive plan designation within the comprehensive plan. The last bit of this, which is a little bit more in depth, is the plan development overlay. This is a request to make modifications to the regional zoning district. It does say Ladera subdivision, as that is what the developer is proposing as the name for their development. This plan development overlay is to make modifications to multiple areas of the regional commercial and land use code district. Generally, those sections that they are proposing modifications to include open space, architectural materials and form, parking requirements, parking lot landscaping, tree and shrub plantings, and landscape materials. I can go into those in depth a little bit more if you have specific questions on those. Those were listed in your packet, and I have them shown up on the screen that we can kind of go into specifics on those if you have that. The owner of the property is Connell LLC, represented tonight by the Connell family, along with Mr. Grant Nelson. And I believe, is it Carolyn or Grant doing the presentation? All right, we have two presenters tonight for their presentation. So I will turn it over to them for their brief presentation.
Brevity is not my strong suit. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council. My name is Grant Nelson. I'm here, as Kevin indicated, with the Connell family, Sherry Walsh, Will Walsh, Tony Connell, and as we indicated, Miss Carolyn White. We are here to present to you the first phase of the Ladera development. And as part of the first phase, we also thought we'd give you the background information on the remainder of the project that we hope to annex into the town in the next coming years. So, Arrow, Kevin is. Yep, sure. Okay. Point the mic up. Is that better?
Yes.
There you go. So as Kevin indicated, the property is south of the Costco and Walmart. And as I was thinking about it this morning, while thinking about the presentation, I met Sherry and Will and Carolyn 15 years ago working on the Walmart. So we've been up here a long time working in this community and really excited to see it go from that 400 or 600 people that we were talking about earlier to 6,000. It's fun to see the growth in Timnath. And we hope this project is a great addition to that town, to the town of Timnath. Ladera is what we have named it. I won't go into the full depth of how we chose the name, but I went through a full process to select the name. Now that we've named it that, I've seen it 4 other places. So that's what happens. Different states, not here. The first phase is the northernmost phase. It is approximately 62 acres with 2 additional acres, as Kevin said, in the 2 annexations. It is primarily retail, commercial. There is a part of it that could be potentially multifamily, but it will probably need another annexation to have additional land area to be able to put multifamily or some sort of single family in the site. So this is the entire site plan. I don't know if you can see it on your screen better than you can up here, but it is 60 acres is what we're annexing today. And I did something. Okay. But it's a much bigger site than that, as you can tell. It's 240 acres total is what the Connell family owns. It is a true mixed use project. We will have 6 to 7 uses of different real estate uses on this site. We anticipate commercial retail facing I-25. We'll have an office component. We'll have multifamily. We expect to have hospitality as part of it. As you can maybe see down in the southeast corner Against the east edge of the lake, Ladera is Lifetime Fitness. We have entered into a letter of intent with Lifetime and are negotiating a purchase agreement with Lifetime to take 10 acres and build a 108,000 square foot facility on the south end when that property is annexed. We think this can be a really dynamic project that can bring the best uses to Northern Colorado, the highest, best in class uses of Northern Colorado, and really excited about it. The first phase is mostly retail, and I'll try and hit on the highlights of the different use areas. We have about 50 acres of retail broken up into anchors and smaller pads that can either be single uses or mid-sized boxes. They could be all tenant, inline tenant space as well. The retail, we think, has a great opportunity here in Northern Colorado, adjacent to Walmart and Costco. Retail in Northern Colorado is a very attractive place to do business right now. I've been doing retail for 29 years in Colorado. I've been operating in Northern Colorado for 29 years. The anchor spaces, we think we will be able to attract not only the first anchor, which will come hopefully before Planning Commission in the next couple of weeks, is Floor and Decor. We have 2 other anchor spaces that we are actively marketing right now. We have some interest from some boxes. And I'll touch briefly on the retail in Northern Colorado. I won't be too expansive, but retail has evolved over the last 29 years since I've been working up here. Initially, people just looked at College Avenue, they looked at Greeley, they looked at Loveland, they looked at individual cities to locate. With the addition of the outlet malls years ago, Centera and the Walmart and the Costco, the focus of retail in Northern Colorado, at least for larger users, has kind of been a recentering of the gravity along I-25. We hope Ladera is able to capture that recentering of gravity, and we're able to land a lot of larger national tenants who are looking up in this area. At this point now, every tenant who's looking in Northern Colorado will look at Timnath, will look at the site because they need to, they have to. And we think some will leave other communities to have one location here as opposed to multiple in other places. Retail is somewhat of a tricky business. There's the shifting sands of retail between Amazon, COVID, and the inflationary issues that we may be dealing with here soon. Retail's a unique beast. 29 years of being beat with the retail stick. I've got some scars, but it's mostly been a really good experience. Most of these retailers who want to operate in Northern Colorado know it's a good market for them. The incomes, the dynamic population of Northern Colorado, the high incomes, the high education of Northern Colorado is really attractive to a lot of retailers. So without expanding too much on retail, which I can do, as I said earlier in ad infinitum, the next phase we believe will come online is office. We have about 6 acres of office, about 80,000 feet hopefully planned. We think that the first phase of the office, or the first buildings of office, could be coming out of the ground in 22 or 23. As I indicated earlier, we think that there will be a multifamily component on the east side of Weitzel. It's about 36 to 40 acres, depending on whether we do public or private roads. There's a lot of retail, or a lot of multifamily interest right now. I have 5 or 6 multifamily developers wanting to look at this site and actively pursuing, trying to figure out how to locate here. So we think the next annexation will be this part of the site, which we'll again have to figure out, but wanted to make you guys aware of what we're working on. The third phase, in the most exciting phase, is the area along the lake. We think Lake Ladera will be about 36 acres. We have hospitality. We have, we planned to have podium style office multifamily buildings with retail on the bottom. As I indicated earlier, Lifetime Fitness is locating here. And we think that over the next couple of years, we're going to generate a lot of interest and hopefully create a really interesting place in Timnath along the lakeside. This project also, of the 240 acres, there's 101 acres of active open space between the area in the northeast corner and out in the southwest corner where Lake Ladera is. There'll be over 100 acres of active, usable open space that we really hope can add to the community and add to the project. So All in, as I said earlier, it's a mixed use project that we really think can bring the highest quality, best in use, best in class users to the site. So along with the users, we're going to be doing a lot of infrastructure upgrades. With the first phase of development, we're going to extend Weitzel from the end of Costco down to County Road 5. We're going to install a roundabout just at the south end of Costco. It's about a mile of road from where we start to where we finish, including draining a lake, which is interesting. The part that Carolyn handed me that I'm supposed to read, which I'm not real good at reading, so that's why Carolyn's here, is the public benefit. So I will read the public benefit and Carolyn will hand them out to you if it's easier. So we hope to generate new sales tax cash flow to the town. Recenter the gravity of Northern Colorado provides services to town residents who now go elsewhere for those services, solves existing regional town problems, secondary access to Costco, Loop Road. We'll add not only one, but two potential lakes, divert Walmart traffic, secondary access across I-25 via Hector, Weitzel Road connection sooner than otherwise possible. Roundabout eliminates U-turns and accomplishes bus transportation. We believe it answers some of the safety concerns around the Costco area. It adds some better turning movements. And we hope it helps Costco's market share to bring more shoppers to the pattern, which creates traffic, which I know is an issue, but it's a issue that we hope helps the town. That the opening up the access actually on County Road 5 from Weitzel, we think is really going to help move the transportation and move the traffic around Timnath and Northern Colorado. You guys can read the rest of them. I know the town likes to be expeditious in its meeting, so I will stop droning on here. Again, there's the first phase. It includes the Weitzel extension to County Road 5, and all in there's 36 acres of usable land, 64 total that are being annexed. And at this point, I believe Miss White will come up and give you a presentation on the remainder of what we're hoping to present to you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Town Council, Town staff. My name is Carolyn White. I'm Land Use Counsel for the applicant for this exciting project that we call Ladera. And I'm just going to touch on a couple of things, a little bit about the timeline, a little bit about the other decisions you're going to be asked to make that are part of this project over the next coming weeks and months, and then a little bit about the annexation criteria and considerations that are in your code and how this project meets those. So on this slide, you can kind of see the timeline where it has the word today in September 21, and sadly September's in the rearview mirror already, and October's about to be. But the point of this was to really show you that here we are at the end of October. We have this decision before you on annexation and zoning, and then we have a number of other actions that will come before you in the next several weeks and months. And then that long vertical line there is a really important component of this project that involves relocating the Box Elder ditch, which is a critical path item and it can only be worked on for certain times of the year, as you probably are aware. And that line represents our window of opportunity to undertake that. So we have a really tight timeline to accomplish this project. The other really important milestone you'll see is down there in March 22, where it says floor and decor pad delivery. That's our contractual obligation to deliver a pad-ready site to Floor and Decor, our anchor tenant, and they are anxious to open, and I bet you're anxious to have them, and we're anxious to meet that date. And then you'll see down there at the very bottom, a green circle for November of 22, and that is our plan for the scheduled Floor and Decor grand opening. So just to give you a preview of what is to come, if I could have the next slide, please. Oh, I can drive. I can drive for myself. Yay. Okay, so just to briefly touch on, these are some of the other things that are coming before you in the next remaining council meetings between now and the end of the year. And I want to mention why some of these are really critical to the success of this project. It's a complete package, and as a project of this magnitude and complexity doesn't happen with just one or two actions, either by you or by us. And so you'll be considering, of course, the subdivision plat and the all-important subdivision improvement agreement that talks about how, what obligations are for the different infrastructure that's required to serve this project, and how that is going to be delivered with what timing and so on. Really important from our perspective are two decisions you'll be asked to make in the future on the credit PIF ordinance and the public finance agreement. We're not presenting to you on those tonight. I'm only talking about them because they are critical to the success of this project. And you may note, if you read the annexation agreement carefully, it says that if we are not successful in persuading you to approve all of these things, then this landowner does have the right to disconnect back from the town and return to the status quo prior to annexation, because you can't make all those decisions until it's annexed, but we have to have all of them in order for this project to move forward. So, so we have the public finance agreement, which we're looking forward to presenting to you about at your next council meeting in November. We also are proposing the formation of two financing tools, a metropolitan district and a business improvement district. Those actions are also not before you tonight, but are critical to the success of this project, in part because of all this infrastructure that is required to serve this project and the need to have a mechanism to finance those, one of which spans all of the phases and all of the different types of uses here. And then, of course, Floor and Decor will come before you, and they will be asking the Planning and Zoning Commission to approve their site plan. And that's another critical component of this overall package. So just a little preview of what's to come over the next several weeks. We're looking forward to coming back up to Timnath several times. And so briefly, I would just want to touch on the annexation itself, since that is one of the two decisions you're making tonight, annexation and zoning. You've already decided that the technical criteria, contiguity, and community of interest are met. Your code then goes on to say, these aren't actual criteria, but a list of considerations for council to make when deciding whether you should annex or not. So not the technical criteria, but is it a good idea for the town? Should we annex? These are some of the things that you look at. And we've worked closely with staff over the last several months analyzing and providing information to demonstrate how all of these are met and how this project is a significant public benefit to the town, as Grant just described. I'm not going to go through each and every one of these, but I want to highlight two of them. The last two, impact on existing transportation and short-term and long-term economic development potential. As you can see from the maps and the description, this project is going to complete the connection of Whitesell Road in phase one. And that is constructing an improvement that will not only serve this project, but will also help meet existing regional needs in the town. And so the benefit on existing transportation is actually, it's a significant benefit. So it's not just that it's going to, there's existing infrastructure adequate to accommodate the new traffic generated by the project. This project is actually going to build infrastructure that's going to accommodate and help with existing traffic in the town. So very significant benefit as it relates to infrastructure and transportation. And then the last one, short-term and long-term economic development potential. We have the opportunity to present some information to you about that in even more detail, hopefully next time we talk about the public benefits, the public finance agreement. But as you can see, this is a very significant project. It'll be building out over the next several years, 240 acres with several thousand square feet of retail, commercial, and new homes, as well as this incredible amenity of the lake. And like Grant, I've worked on a number of retail projects up and down the Front Range, and there are not very many projects in Colorado where you can get lakefront retail. That is going to be premium, highly desirable space. And in this competitive retail environment, as Grant was just describing, there are a handful of things that cause retailers to be extremely successful, and unique place is one of them. And this is going to be a truly unique place that doesn't exist anywhere else in the state, much less in Northern Colorado. So we're very excited about this opportunity. We think it brings tremendous public benefits to the town in a number of different ways, as hopefully we've demonstrated. And therefore, we ask for your approval of the annexation and the zoning, the two different components of the zoning. And we look forward to coming back to speak to you about the public finance agreement and the other approvals in the coming weeks. And also, our whole team is here to answer questions if you have any.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any more, Kevin?
Nope, I'm just ready for any questions you may have.
Okay, council.
Question for the applicants there. The The plan development overlay, the exceptions to our code, could you speak to the general purpose as to what the reasons you need those exceptions to the code?
Sure. No, I'd be happy to. And I've included it at the end of the package here, and I believe Kevin's provided them as well. The PD overlay when it was written, or the zoning as it was written in the regional commercial is a very good document. It outlines a lot of great zoning, but specific to what we need for not only phase one, but to attract other retailers to this project, specifically anchor retailers. We made modifications to be able to attract them to the site, to be able to not only work with Floor & Decor, but be able to attract other retailers to the sites. A lot of them were specific to the larger boxes. Over my 29 years, I've done about 4 million feet of big box retail with Walmart's, Costco's, Lowe's, Home Depot's, Kohl's, King Soopers. And I would say Floor & Decor has been incredibly accommodating to make those changes. Most of those retailers who I've worked with and Killian's worked with in the past are much less accommodating. So a lot of the changes were made to be able to entice them to come to the community and locate here, if that hopefully answers your question.
Yeah. So with the context of that answer, my understanding is that many of these changes are to allow you to expand the amount of parking that these larger retailers would need. Would that be an accurate reasoning for what some of these?
Some of them are parking, yeah.
Okay.
And it's kind of a double-edged sword. Floor & Decor only wants to park at we call a 3-to-1 ratio, so 3 spaces per 1,000 square feet. They're uniquely on a ground lease here. And as a retail developer, I don't want to own a building with 3-to-1 parking. So we actually increased them to 4-to-1. And over the last 29 years, it went from 5 to 4 to 3.5 now. So parking ratios from 3.5 to 4.5 are probably pretty typical. So yeah, some of the changes were for that. And then some of the landscape islands and the parking lot lights and some of the other kind of more, very specific items were addressed in the PD overlay.
Okay. And I'll just make one comment, and you alluded to this in your presentation, that traffic is a concern in the community. And I appreciate that you are looking to integrate into the community, but when we get to some of the further approvals, I think the whole community would like to see a little more show your work on how this is going to help the traffic situation and not create a nightmare that many in the town are already familiar with. So that would be my hope. And I know staff has certainly hit that note as well with you. So just be prepared to show your work on traffic impacts is all.
I'm happy to. Traffic, we've had a robust traffic discussion. Is that a good word for it?
That's a good word.
Good.
So, and actually, as I breezed over in my presentation, the County Road 5, the Kechter rebuild of the bridge, part of the reason Lifetime Fitness wanted to locate in that area is because they really believe that the Kechter Bridge and County Road 5 will bring people to that part of the site as opposed to just being on Harmony. And having the Whitesville extension and people being able to go up County Road 5 and use County Road 5 and Kechter, I think hopefully that will alleviate some of the Harmony Road traffic. So
I agree. Significant southern access to that commercial will help. And I think we just want to be able to show the public that we've taken very seriously their concerns about traffic in the community. So.
And what we do as well. We can only have a successful project if we have successful traffic.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I just have one quick question on the PD overlay. On the height of poles, it says here, going from 20 feet to 30 feet, and that's a maximum of 30 feet, whether it's mounted on a building or whatever, right? It's a maximum of 30 feet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
No matter what it's sitting on. I mean, if it's it's not a 30-foot pole on a 10-foot building, let's say.
No, and I think I think that's specific to parking lot lights.
Yep. Okay. Specific to parking lot lights.
Got it.
And it's somewhat counterintuitive. Actually, the higher you go, the fewer you have to have. Sure. So, and the retailers typically like to go up to 30 feet.
Okay.
So
great. Thanks.
Sure.
So I just want to, one thing is reiterate what Brett said, and I know I've talked to staff about this, that when the time comes, I understand that it'll take traffic off Harmony, but County Road 5 also gets really busy. Kechter has been busy in the past. We all know that. To think about what the improvements will be along County Road 5 as well. Speed limit's 45, meaning cars go 50-55 to make sure we have adequate turn lanes, adequate space for cars to do that. I know I've mentioned it before, so I know you already know that, but I wanted to say that publicly again. And then I just had a question about the lake. So I know you talked about the lake being a big part of this project. And I was wondering if you feel like that will be a lake that will have water uses, like is that something that you're thinking about, whether it's paddle boats or I have a hard time picturing the size, just looking at pictures, or is it more just for like lakefront views kind of thing?
That I think a lot of that's still to be determined. The business improvement district we talked about forming will make some of those decisions, but we want to make it an active lake. We don't want it to just be for views.
Okay,
So, but as we know that, we'll make sure that the board and the town knows what we're trying to do to make it an active lake. So
Great, thank you.
Sure. And on County Road 5, and County Road 5 is a really important access to everybody. It's a regional corridor for, people coming from Windsor, people coming back and forth up and down the, northern Colorado without wanting to get on I-25. So we had a discussion about this afternoon that we need a lot of people to have conversations and consultations about County Road 5 and how we best solve it.
Robust was a good word for it. So.
Yep. And then to answer your question or some of your comments, when you do see the subdivision plat come forward here in the coming weeks, there are improvements with this first phase to County Road 5 with XL, decel lanes, things like that. So there will be improvements that will happen with their first subdivision. And then shortly thereafter, there are trigger points for other improvements down at the Kechter intersection.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, Ms. White raised a lot of steps ahead of us. It's exciting at the front end. And to show my cards, because you've done a great job of presenting your project, where I'm at is it's got to be a win-win for the town and for the developer. And I think together, if we partner, we can make this very successful.
Yes, I agree with you, Councilman. That was the exact words I used this morning with Don in a conversation that has to be a win-win-win. It has to be a win for the town, the developer, and the anyone who operates there. It really, those are the best public-private partnerships when everyone walks away and feels good about it. So thank you. I appreciate that comment.
I have one question we've been sort of focusing on in PD overlay, but in the overall sort of plan, so I'm not even sure where this would fit in, but in the overall plan, in the open space, the lake obviously is open space, and then there was the northern part, that was adjacent to County Road 5. So what is, up there, yep. So there's another little lake. Is that an existing lake? Oh yeah, right. There's already an existing lake there, but what is the plan for that to the east of that lake to County Road 5? Just leaving it as it is currently, or?
Again, to be determined. We have not fully determined what the uses for that could be. I mean, it's in the floodway.
Right. Yeah, so you can't build anything there.
Can't build anything there. And that's actually going to be a new lake. The lake that's there today.
It's just teeny, right?
Yeah. We're draining that, and then we've got we're basically digging a hole to replace the hole that we have.
Got it.
But I know I'm technical in my.
Okay, but it will just be some type of open area. Yeah. Whether it has a use or not is to be determined.
And we would like to make sure that there's a use for all of this property and make it interactive, make it as active or interactive as we can. And we hope to work with staff on that. To figure out the best use for the remainder of that property.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Grant.
Thank you.
Any other comments on the board? Hey, Lori?
Yes.
Should I present each one of these as a separate vote, or should we vote together?
Mayor,
Yes.
Mayor, sorry to interrupt this. These are public hearings.
So anyway, we have to do them separately.
I've already asked the public if there was anybody to talk. What are you talking about?
I missed that, sorry.
All right. Yeah, Lori?
Yeah, we need to do them separately, please.
Okay, thank you. All right, resolution 6 64, Series 2021, a resolution making certain findings of fact and declaring eligibility of the proposed annexation of parcels of land to the town of Timnath, known as Connell annexations. Do I have a motion?
Finding that a complete application was submitted and reviewed in accordance with all applicable Town of Timnath regulations, criteria outlined in section 1610.2 of the Town of Timnath Land Use Code and CRS 3112 have been met. I move to recommend approval of the annexations for property known as Connell to the Town of Timnath as it meets all criteria for annexation.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Ordinance number 9, Series
So
2020.
I'm sorry, Mayor. So the motion carries unanimously.
Correct.
Thank you.
Ordinance number 9, Series 2021, an ordinance approving the annexations for property known as Connell to the Town of Timnath, located south of Sweatsville Road and west of County Road 5. Do I have a motion?
I move to, I don't have the numbers here, so I don't know what number it is, but finding that a complete application was submitted and reviewed in accordance with all applicable Town of Timnath regulations, criteria outlined in section, am I on the right one? Section 1610.2 of the Town of Timnath Land Use Code and CRS 31-12 have been met. I move to recommend approval of the annexations for property known as Connell to the Town of Timnath as it meets all criteria for annexation.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed. It passes unanimously. Ordinance number 9, Series 2021, an ordinance approving the annexation for property known as Connell to the Town of Timnath, located south of Sweatsville Zoo Road and west of County Road 5. Ordinance number 10, Series 2021, an ordinance approving a zoning map amendment for the annexation of the property known as Connell to the Town of Timnath. Do I have a motion?
I move to recommend approval of an ordinance approving a zoning map amendment for Connell annexations with the following conditions. Allow the staff to work with the owner applicant to address minor non-substantive modifications and unresolved comments prior to final signatures.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance number 10, Series 2020. Just Zach, listen to what I'm going to say.
Okay.
The ordinance number 10, Series 2021, an ordinance approving a zoning map amendment for the annexation of the property known as Connell to the Town of Timnath passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Ordinance number 11, Series 2021, an ordinance approving Ladera Plan Development Overlay Amendment. Do I have a motion?
I move to recommend approval of the Ladera Plan Development Overlay Amendment with the following conditions. Allow staff to work with the owner applicant to address minor and non-substantive modifications and unresolved comments prior to final signatures.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ordinance number 11, Series 2021, an ordinance approving the Ladera Plan Development Overlay Amendment passed unanimously. Next, we will go into executive session for the purpose of discussion concerning the purchase, acquisition, lease, transfer, or sale of real personal or other property interest under Section 24-6-402, Parent A, Parent CRS. Discussion regarding positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations and development of a strategy for negotiations under Section 24-6-402, Parent 4, Parent E, Parent CRS, and conferences with the town's attorney for purposes of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions under Section 24-6-402, Parent 4, Parent B, Parent CRS.
So we need a motion, please.
I make a motion, we go into executive session.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, we are in executive session. Anyone not Thanks for
sir.
coming up.
Very helpful.
Hey, Mark, just as a side note. There is an extra Tuesday.
I just, Christmas week, I don't really think's good.
I'm with you.
Oh, it would. Okay. All right. I'm not going to ask for adjournment yet. Do we want to talk about the meetings in November and December here?
Sorry, I feel like it's easier when we're all together
Yeah.
to
So
figure
let's
that
talk
out,
about
but
it. But Leslie, except we don't have all the info. So are you guys okay with waiting until November 9th and we do it during that meeting on what we do for the rest of the year?
Yep.
Okay. You okay? All right.
Yeah, let us nail it down as a staff
Carolyn-
and then we'll come back with a
Carolyn has
recommendation.
That sounds awesome.
I'm sorry.
Well, I wouldn't do a recommendation as much as don't give us one date, because if you give us one date, he's gone on the 23rd. So what I'd like to do is a survey
Options.
monk. Yeah, I want options. Yeah.
Just real quick, so there are notice requirements for the BID ordinance and for the service plan that are generally a 20-day notice requirement. So it would be helpful to know sooner than later when those public hearings are going to be held, so that just for notice requirements, especially if they were going to be held on the 23rd or around that time. So it would work time-wise to have first reading on November 2nd, second reading on, November 9th, second reading on December 14th. Even though that gets us near the end of the year, we have looked at it and we could probably fit everything in with those two meetings. If there's a meeting in between, that's fine too. And the developers did express that, they want to get it done as soon as possible. So they were a little nervous about waiting till December 14th. So however you decide, sooner than later, then we can communicate to the attorneys for the developer so that they can start working on notices if the public hearings are going to be before December 14th.
So Aaron, maybe tomorrow or the next day, send out the survey so we can get that nailed down. Does that sound good, Carolyn? Okay.
No problem.
Right. So we all good with all that? Okay. Do I have
A motion to adjourn regular session?
second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously.
Good night.
Got mine up there.
Thank you. Good night, Carolyn.
Bye. Thanks, Larry.